Good morning. You're listening to the BLAINESWORLD show, heard each Wednesday here on WPVM 103.7 in Asheville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at WPVM's Facebook page. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and we're here at my lovely downtown studio in Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on the Asheville theater scene, as well as on people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce two of my favorite local performers and musicians, and they are Paula Hanke and Peggy Ratusz. And welcome aboard, guys.
Hi.
And Peggy was already ahead of me, but you can also, Paula, wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world. Okay, so if anybody's watching, they'll get the chance to see Peggy and Paula. They'll also get a chance to listen to them in just a bit. So I think you're going to like what you hear. And I should mention, in terms of background, that Paula.
My mantle clock is going off. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, what is?
My mantle clock.
Okay, that's okay. I didn't hear it. But anyway, Paul's been a professional singer-musician since the age of 17. Paul really located to Asheville in 2006 after living in New York for 15 years and touring nationally and internationally since her 20s. She enjoys playing big stages and small stages alike, singing everything from jazz standards to Motown, disco, blues, and pop, and is equally at home in the recording studio, often adding vocals to original products. Peggy is she's had an eclectic, versatile career for nearly 45 years. Wow, you began at 3 or was it 2?
Thank you.
Was exactly. My God, from touring show band lead vocalist to co-producer of various blue, jazz, pop, classic, country, and tribute configurations, ranging from duo to quintet to booking manager and vocal coach, a champion for female performers. Peggy successfully has garnered several awards for Best in Blues, an artist who gives back to the music communities. And I would say that, as you know, I'm a big fan of both of yours. And one of the reasons I love you both so much is that you certainly do have an eclectic range of stuff. You know, I mean, out of all the performers I know, you play just about almost anything. Would you say that's true? Is there anything you don't perform? You know,
opera.
Any music?
Yeah. Opera.
Have you've never done opera?
No.
You have the voice. Well, let me ask you the question of both of you, and maybe I asked you this the last time I had you as a guest, but think back to when you began singing, okay? And so, Paul, I'll start with you. Do you remember the first time you began singing?
Yeah, I guess it was in church.
Was it? How old were you?
Well, you know, I've been in church forever. You start very young. So, I mean, that kind of singing, you know, especially I think I started realizing that I could hold a pitch and kind of harmonize maybe in around the 3rd grade.
Do you remember the first time people ever came to see you perform?
Oh. Well, I guess that was more like high school.
Right.
Musicals, high school musicals and swing choir and like that.
Because one of the great ideas I have somewhere along the line is that I'd love to have everybody do their first performance. Like when you said you played in high school, do they have a video of that performance?
I imagine somewhere.
But wouldn't that be great though, if we had imagine Peggy at ISIS or some other place, we had a fundraiser and everybody would do their very first song, you know?
Oh my gosh, mine was One Tin Soldier Rides Away.
Well, that's even better. How old were you when you did that song?
I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay, and it was in a show or what was?
It was a talent show at my high school.
Okay, and so you remember it? Did you win the show? Did you win it?
I did.
But do we have a record of it? A performance?
I have a broken tape. So it's been up in a box for years, and I've been threatening to take it somewhere to see if they can repair it so that I can play it.
But I'm going to give you the challenge. Next time we have Love Bubble perform, wouldn't that be great? And Paula, you can introduce it.
My voice was so high.
I know, but this would be your first performance, and so we could actually have a video record of it. But that was the first time. And so you're performing ever since then for both of you. And all of a sudden, then you've been to Asheville now a bunch of years. What's the story of the group you now have, Love Bubble? How'd that get started?
I think it probably started on an airplane, right, Peggy?
Yes, it did.
I mean, Peggy and I and Hank were traveling together to do some showcases for the Linda Ronstadt project that we're in.
Right.
Hank was accompanying us on guitar and on the plane rides. I mean, you got all this time to talk about stuff. And he had this dream. He just had this dream he started talking to us about. And like by the end of the weekend, we kind of started, getting excited about the possibilities of this little vocal trio.
How'd you come up with the name Love Bubble?
Hank has a song called Love Bubble that he wrote several years ago. So he drew it from that song title.
Okay, and I've heard that song, right? You performed it.
We have.
Yeah, and I've heard it. A very cute song. So you started then in Asheville. Then this is how long have you been that group been around?
Our first gig was in December of 2019. So kind of new still. We're still finding our sound, but we're getting there.
Oh, I just love it. And so we'll give a shout out to the guy who's not on the show right now, Hank Bones. That's where it's getting confused. Give us a little background of Hank.
Let's see. Hank is a man of 1,000 songs, they call him. He's incredibly talented. He's a genius. He's really positive. He rolls with the punches. He's all over the place. He's got ADD in mostly good ways.
And he's a guitar player and a bass player and an amazing singer, an amazing songwriter. He hails from New York City. And I think he moved here about the same time I did, around 2006. So he's in like some groups that a lot of people have heard of, the Three Cool Cats with Russ Wilson and Michael Filippone.
Sure.
Let's see, he's in the John Henrys, I think, too, right, Peggy?
Yeah. Plays a lot with Russ Wilson and all of his configurations.
Right.
So in terms of performing, now the two of you have performed both individually. I've seen you and the two of you together. Do you have preference as to how you perform individually, two of you together, or as Love Bubble? Is there one type you perform the best you like?
I like it all. I get enjoyment out of everything.
I think the variety is what we really love. I mean, Peggy and I do. We've done Etta James music together. We've done a tribute to Ronstadt, now a very serious one that we took on the road. I mean, it was great fun. And then we do this sort of disco Motown dance show where we dress up in wigs and, bell-bottom pants and just have a ball. And then there's, I know there's a real sort of what can I say? There's something that happens when Peggy does her own gig with, an upright bass player and a piano player or something that I'm sure, feeds her soul. And I would say the same with me. Occasionally when I'm out on my own, there's something about that too.
Well, that was such a pleasant surprise I had, as you indicated, Paul, when I saw Peggy not too long ago perform. It was primarily you singing, and it was you doing
Bygone Blues.
Yeah, and it's wow, I never heard most of those. Just everything was unique to me, but I really enjoyed it. It's just I had to do a double take because I said, well, this is not, I'm not used to having you sing that, but that was probably kind of fun.
Honoring the women that paved the way in the blues that don't get enough of credit for it is something that I have a lot of passion for. And I mean, researching these songs is unbelievable journey, and learning about all of these women from the early 1900s into the 1930s and 40s, that their stories are unbelievable.
Well, maybe that's why I didn't know a lot of them, because it was all new to me. And how did the two of you hook up? How do you two of you start performing together?
Tell the story, Miss P.
Miracle. Let's see. So, there's a network of women singers in this town, and we keep each other apprised on, who's new in town. And I started hearing rumblings about a new female singer in town. And I got Paula's number, I think, right? Did I call you?
You did.
And I had a little gig up on Hendersonville Road, and she was acquainted with somebody that was a friend of mine's, a bass player that I had played with quite a bit in years before even then. And he was planning on coming or something like that. And I said, you should come with him. to this gig I have tonight. And she sat in, and that's how it started. And we started going to each other's performances and sitting in with each other and becoming friends.
And
Nice.
Blaine, we're both Midwestern girls. So just have this sort of common sensibility. We really do. I mean, we're both like 5'2" brunettes. We're Leos.
Yeah.
We're good Catholic girls. And
Exactly.
no, but just the same kind of sensibilities and sort of the same work ethic. We've really discovered that.
Well, it just seems,
Partnering.
which is so cool just to watch you and with Hank as well. You just seem so comfortable with each other. It's just a real, I can tell it your friends. It's like watching it. It's like I really have a good time when I watch you. Which is really kind of a cool thing. And let's kind of use that to segue into what you're working on now. That you have an upcoming show at ISIS, but you also were telling me off the air it's going to be, which is kind of something I'm looking forward to. There's going to be some original stuff you're doing as well. So they're going to be covers, but talk about the original stuff you're going to be doing.
Yeah, we're actually putting together a CD. We've got maybe 10 or 12 originals now, don't we, Miss Peggy?
We do. Yep.
And so we're gathering the music. We're rehearsing it up. We're recording in Hank's home studio, and very excited about that. So this show on April 9th will also be some Beatles music. We're really excited to put together some kind of our favorite Beatles tunes and some less, heard, some that you don't always hear every time. And I don't know what else, Miss Peggy.
Yeah. So let's see.
Well, as a matter of fact, as you think about that, why don't you, Peggy, why don't we use this as an opportunity to at least play one of the songs?
Okay.
And that Peggy's going to be our DJ here, and she's put together a couple of songs. So tell us the one we're going to be listening to.
I always tell this story. It's called Twice This Summer. And so Paula always, if I can speak for her, she had a hankering to learn a string instrument. She's fluid on piano and flute, and she used to play saxophone, but she wanted to learn a string instrument. And so Hank gifted her a tipple that is sort of like a bigger ukulele, and it's strung like a ukulele. And so she started learning some stuff and taking some online courses. And then a couple months later, he gifted her a real ukulele. And so after she played the ukulele for a couple of days or weeks or whatever, she was at a rehearsal and she said, "Hank, you've made me fall in love twice this summer," meaning to the instruments, and he made a song of it.
Oh, cool.
Okay, let's see if we can play it. Here's a song. Nope, that's not the right one. I'm sorry. Let's see if this is it. Happens to me every summer. Summertime is when I lose my heart. First time I was walking the dawn.
Just a little louder, Peggy.
While my dog and his were talking, he stole my heart away from me.
We lost Peggy.
Peggy? A little louder.
A little louder, Peggy. Okay, Peggy, come on,
Peggy?
come on back to us. And Peggy?
Yeah.
Okay, that was great. Just the next one a little bit louder, if you can, on volume. But let's just, since we're here now. So this is a song now. When you listen to this, we hear, Paul, you'll be doing ukulele on that one? No?
No.
Or one of them?
I do some flute on this one.
Okay. Wow. So I've never seen you, I think, play other instruments. But the one thing that Peggy mentioned was kind of neat. You also play a saxophone?
Oh, well, I played that in the 5th grade from like 5th grade through high school.
Oh, but you
And
don't
I
play
played
it.
a little bit when I was on the road singing, and I would just kind of pick it up and play a couple of notes here. And I mean, I was really serious about it for 9, 10 years.
Because that'd really be cool. You don't see too many female saxophone players.
Yeah.
I don't see where I think it'd really be cool. Then next instrument, you can then pick up the tuba or something, start playing it.
You don't see very many female saxophone players, but not because there aren't any, or not because there's not a ton.
Right.
They just don't get hired.
That's part of the problem too. But anyway, so this was one of the songs. We'll play the others. And when you do, Peggy, we'll just make a little bit higher on the volume. It was a little low on
Okay,
the volume.
if you go like this or that, I'm
Okay.
looking at you guys, even though I'm off screen.
And
Because
you're
we
moving
were,
you moved the camera, but we couldn't see anything. It was like a lamp.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
The
So
lamp
just
was,
keep it on you.
The lamp was having a good time though. It really was. It was moving back and forth, and really, so you got a favorable rating from the lamp. So
Oh, Blaine.
now, so the show you're going to be doing at ISIS, when's that show coming up?
April 9th at 7 p.m. at ISIS Music Hall. And they have limited seating. I think they're allowed to have half capacity now. So what they're doing is you call the venue, and the venue's number is 828-575-2737 to reserve your dinner table.
Okay. And what ISIS does, which is very nice, because I remember the last show you did, they also allow you to see it via streaming. So if you can't make it into the studio, you can see it via streaming. And just kind of a great show. And so that'll be, Paula was saying, that'll be a combination of some of your new stuff and some of the old standbys. Yeah.
Yeah, and some Beatles.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, guys. I always wonder this when I see a performance. Do you mind when people sing or dance along? How do you feel about that?
I don't mind at all.
I like it.
Do you? Because some
Yeah.
people I know, well, I guess, get annoyed, or especially when my brother goes to a show, he starts blasting at the top of his lungs, and his wife has to hit him, calm down. But I guess that's the beauty that you guys control the mic, though. So that's the key, that
Yeah,
somebody,
we control the mic, exactly.
right. But do you mind also if people get up and dance?
No.
Yeah, because your stuff is just so, it's
It's
so
happy.
inviting. Yeah, it is. That's a good way of describing it. It's almost, would you say that for them, except when you did that show, the blues music, all your
Yeah,
stuff,
there's a lot of sad and funny ones in that show.
right? But some sad stuff. But I think that's a great way of describing that. What you do, Love Bubble, it's mostly, we'd say, upbeat and kind of fun kind of stuff.
It's upbeat. It's kind of, groovy. It's groovy, harmony driven, happy stuff. A lot of it is nostalgic. And we feed off of the crowd. So if they're dancing in front of the stage, man, more power to them.
Well, even as you said it, Paul, is that one of the songs? Do you do the song "Grooving" or "Groove"?
Grooving. Yeah, we do.
You've done that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've heard you sing that, and it's just such a great way to describe you. So now when you do a song, I know at the ISIS show you're going to be playing some other instruments as well. Is that correct? So it'll be Hanke, but are you going to be bringing some other instruments as well?
Yeah, so I started playing the cajon, which is the box that you sit on and hit
Okay.
drum. And then I started taking up harmonica. So I play some simple harmonica lines. And Paula's playing the ukulele and flute.
Do you enjoy doing that?
Me?
Playing the different instruments at a show?
Very much.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really fun. Like those, the ukulele was really my COVID, kind of project. So it's really been fun to learn something new, a little bit later on in my career. Just to grab a different instrument. And why I really like it is I can throw it in the car and I take it to the park and I can take it, it's so easy. It's not like a piano or something. And the flute, although I hadn't played much recently, it's been, maybe several decades. It was fun to pull that out as well for this group and just kind of relearn it and just try playing it in a different way. It's not like I'm playing with a band, a concert band or something. It's a whole different kind of playing, so it's fun.
Well, what I heard, I was really impressed with the fact that you learned this also in large part on your own. You
The
know, you
flute?
learned it, do you learn it through YouTube or online?
Well, the saxophone, which I actually learned through the school
Right.
system and just really playing, has a lot of the same fingerings as the flute. And that's why when I picked it up, it's also a woodwind instrument. It just kind of went together, the two instruments, and a lot of the fingerings were the same. So then I just kind of tune into YouTube to get some of those other fingerings that are a little bit out of the ordinary and, like that.
And people can learn stuff on YouTube like that?
Definitely.
Okay.
I
So
mean, it's
this,
better to have a teacher, but it sure is fun to get started anyway.
okay, so there's hope for us. And I know, Peggy, you were telling me off the air too, that you're using online stuff that you can't do in person, but you work with some people online in terms of their singing, to
Yeah, I
help them
do.
out.
I've done just a few vocal coaching sessions over Zoom, and it's not ideal, but it can work, and we make it work.
Okay, cool. And talking about making it work, we're going to give you a second shot here now, Peggy. We have a second
Okay.
number. And
I hope
again,
it works because
so
it
you
just
can
kind
see
of
us. So
stopped.
Paul and I will give you the ups. If you can see our thumbs, we'll tell you if the volume is off.
Okay, and I'll bring it back to myself, but let me see if I can
Okay, great.
see what this track is. I've hit play, but it's not doing anything. So I'm gonna eject it and start all over again.
And as you're doing that, I'll mention something else what I'd like to do with you, Paul and Peggy. And that is when we eventually get back into actually doing shows live, or coming into a studio, then I'll have you come. And I think I've seen you perform in the studio at our station with Hank as well. So sometime we'll actually get you in person, at a studio, which will really be cool. And then we won't have any of these technical difficulties. But Peggy, there she goes. Okay, great, Peggy.
I wanna be the paradise you roll. I wanna be the food that feeds your soul.
I wanna be the handle on your door.
Wanna be what you want when you want more.
I wanna be the pages in your book.
Wanna be everywhere you chance to look.
I wanna be the cherry in your pie.
And be the stepping stone that gets you high.
Wanna be the sweet in all your honey. Wanna see what you buy with your money.
I wanna be the wings you used to fly. I wanna keep your secrets till I die.
I wanna be the bed on which you sleep.
Wanna be free to be the love you keep.
Wanna be the minutes in your hours. Wanna be the petals on your flowers. I wanna be the dream within your sighs.
I wanna be the gleam that's in your eyes.
I wanna be the poppies in your field.
I wanna see the dark
Ginger!
Wanna be the words in your little letter.
Where's Clancy?
I wanna be the wool in your sweater.
I wanna be the cards that you're dealing. I wanna make you feel what I'm feeling.
I wanna be the one your arms enfold.
I wanna be your love as we grow old.
There's Paula on the flute.
I-
That's
it- Perfect. The only, not the only good thing, but the one good thing about that song is that I wasn't singing along because boy, was I tempted. I didn't even know the song, but what a great song. I mean, I just love the words on that too. It's just so terrific. So who did the words on that, Hank?
That was Hank.
Hank
That was
and,
all Hank.
Widenhouse. I can't remember her first name. She has
Oh.
a really interesting and pretty first name, but a woman whose last name is Widenhouse, and Hank wrote it.
Oh.
It's a terrific song, but it just, like I said, first time I heard it, but it just really makes you want to sing along, and just get up, and a lot of fun with that
You want to
song.
skip, right?
It
Puts a
does.
little skip in your step.
But another thing that's so cool, and I'll have you talk a little bit about it, but the three of you now really seem to almost complement each other, that would you say that's true, that like do you each have certain strengths that you bring to the process?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do each of you bring to the table?
I'm the starter and Paula brings it home. I'll get
Hanks
the
the meat
ball
and
rolling.
potatoes.
Yeah,
Hanks-
I'll throw it to her. She
Yeah.
catches it
yeah.
and runs with it.
Peggy's the idea person for sure. And I'm good at carrying out things like, getting them developed and carrying them out. And of course, in this group, Hank is like, he's like I said, our meat and potatoes. He's laying it down, holding it down.
It's so cool that you have that, because I imagine some groups it's very hard to have everybody on the same page, and you just really seem to be simpatico, with each other. And
Yeah, we did we did not a huge amount of talking about what we would do, what I would do, and what Paula would do. It's much of it just we fell into it. And I can say this with all sincerity. I'm not trying to be mushy or anything, but I think the beauty of Paula's and my relationship is that we completely are ourselves in any given moment. We let each other be who we need to be in every moment. And the freedom in that is, the result is just a beautiful and easy relationship.
There's a lot of communication, to make that
Yeah.
happen.
Totally.
and talking about the communication during COVID, that has made your life more difficult, or especially in the beginning. How do you get through that as a performing group?
We rehearsed so much we were outdoors
Okay.
twice a week, like through all the good weather. I mean, we really played a lot together, and we did some gigs outdoors too. So there's a couple of breweries that were open. ISIS had their outdoor stage going. So we actually worked through
Did a
lot
couple of Facebook Lives in my backyard.
Right.
I'm trying to think, Peggy, was it your show or somebody else's show that they were doing outdoors? And I don't think it was you, but the neighbors were complaining. Was that you?
Oh, that was a cowgirl show that I did with my next door neighbor Mayor and Ellen Trinka.
It
in
was you.
Hendersonville. The cops came.
Right.
We were playing Emmylou Harris and Lucinda Williams and Roseanne Cash tunes. Who doesn't like that music? And
Right. And
yeah.
see that the cops come, which is incredible. But talk about that in the remaining time. Let's talk about what's upcoming. So we have the show coming up on the April
9th.
9th, and they can go to the ISIS website and get information. What else is coming up for the two of you or the three of you?
Well, I'd like to mention the CD release for Love
Please.
Bubble, since we're talking about that. It's going to be July 1st at the Gray Eagle.
Oh, very exciting. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And we're doing a Linda Ronstadt birthday show on July 15th, which is a Thursday at ISIS.
Okay, so a lot of good stuff. If folks want to track you, and I encourage people to keep in touch with you and see what you're doing. So you're always doing like just the two shows you mentioned I want to go to, two very different. I've never seen the Ronstadt show. So, I want to see that.
Yeah.
What's the best way to keep track of you folks?
I have a Reverb Nation page. So it's www.reverbnation.com/ and my name, Peggy Ratusz. And I try to keep up my schedule there. And it's fun. I'm actually putting gigs in there now.
Okay. And Paula, best way to keep in touch
Well,
with you?
with Love Bubble, we do a lot of our invites or evites on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We also have
An email distribution list.
Yeah. And didn't you do something on Reverb Nation for us too, Peggy?
I do. Yeah, that's a Love Bubble WNC. So www.reverbnation.com/Love Bubble WNC.
Or in the alternative, the other option is to just check both of you out on Facebook
That's right.
And also Love Bubble is on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Okay. And so that'll have all the information as to where to find you. And
Mhm.
again, I just want to thank you both because, so you've given me 2 dates to keep in mind when people actually hopefully go see live performances. That's the hope. And you have to catch the 2 of these and along with Hank because their stuff is really good. I want to thank you for being my guest this first half hour on the Blaine's World Show. And like I said, hopefully I'll see you or I will see you live at some point in time in the next couple of years. Okay.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Blaine. Thanks for
Okay. I
having us.
appreciate you and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Miss P.
Bye-bye.
Okay. And as we work, and thanks for bringing your other friend in there. Paul, that was great.
Ginger.
Okay. And as they work their way out of the studio, I'm going to bring in our next guest. And there we go. And there's Greg and Ashley. Before we introduce you, let me just mention that you're listening to WPVM 103.7 LP. And WPVM's mission is to foster a community through programming that cultivates dialogue to inform and entertain. The station provides the medium for artists, business, community leaders, and nonprofits to share their voice on live radio. Listeners are invited to help support WPVM's efforts by making a contribution. You can do so by going to the website, wpvmfm.org, and looking at the donate options in the upper right-hand side. It's next my pleasure to introduce my next 2 guests, and they are Greg and Ashley Garrison with Hop Ice Cream. And you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world. Okay, if they're watching. And it's such a pleasure to have both of you because I know we've been trying to do this for a while. And I got to speak to Greg a while back, but great to see you, Ashley. And for those few people in the Asheville area who don't know it, the Hop Ice Cream has been proudly servicing Asheville since 1978. But that wasn't with you guys, I assume. That was before your time. Okay.
Yes.
You weren't, I guess you were around then. Somewhere, were you then, 78? Not even around. Okay. But dates me. With imaginary a classy array of homemade 16% butterfat, hormones, and antibiotic-free dairy ice cream, completely from scratch vegan ice cream, and sorbet, unique specialty flavors, and more. Ashley and Greg Garrison, owners and Joy. I love that, Joy Makers. But isn't that true though? Is that what you call yourselves, Joy Makers? I just love that.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that, we want ice cream to make somebody's day better. It's as a product, I think it does that anyway, but we try and bring a little bit extra to it to accentuate that.
It is part of the training process too, for people that are just starting at the hop, is to make sure that they understand the responsibility they have to the customers to bring them joy.
Is that tough, I guess, for some people to have that attitude? Or can anybody learn it?
I think that we're pretty upfront about it, that, you can have a different day before coming to work. And, we've started a new process with folks when they come in, they just have a check-in where, even if they had a bad day, they just kind of like let it go and they can go forward with their shift and, hopefully still be able to greet everybody and make a few people smile.
I think we definitely draw a certain type of personality also just from it being ice cream and being the hop.
Yeah, but I just love it, like you're saying, guys, because even as you're talking about it, I have a smile, and I'm annoyed I don't have ice cream in front of me, because but it's true that whenever I go in, no matter what mood you're in, Cynthia will say, my beautiful bride will say, hey, how about getting some ice cream? And then, it changes your day. It really does. That I guess the only time I've ever had a bad experience, Ashley, with ice cream is one time it dropped. So you're eating it and it's on the floor, and it's kind of hard. Ice cream is tough for the 5-second rule, I guess. It's hard to scoop up. But does that, by the way, I'll ask you just off the top of my head, does that ever happen? Does anybody ever come in, especially a kid, and the ice cream drops? Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, for sure.
The way that we handle that is that we always say it's our fault, no matter what.
Oh, but they must be.
So we take care of it.
But they must be devastated. A little kid, can you imagine?
Yes. So we try and swoop in as quickly as possible, for sure.
Well, that would be great. That'd be a great video. I could just see it though, where showing, yeah, exactly. I love the look. Have your kids could be the model for it, or we'll do a video next show. We'll have them. This is how not to eat ice cream. Anyway, they started in 2003 I do recall hearing that story. As there's students at UNC, they took the reins in 2008, have since happily endeavored to create a genuinely positive community business around delicious, hot, handcrafted ice cream. And again, one of the reasons I love you guys so much is you're so much into community. You know, is that like from day one, was that kind of one of your thrusts to get involved in the Asheville community?
Yeah, I'll let Greg speak to that.
Yeah, I think that both of us have always liked being part of multiple groups. Like growing up, we had lots of different friends, different circles of friends that we would all be a part of. And that I think the moment where we recognized the hop was an opportunity to make relationships, to establish relationships with all different kinds of people in Asheville, in the community. I think that it just clicked for us. But you know, going back to the Joymaker idea, I think that's probably the beginning of it, is that if we limited ourselves, we would bring less joy. So if we reached out and created more relationships and supported more of the community, then we would be able to make more joy for more people.
Because one of the things I love about you folks is that, yeah, you do get involved in the community in so many different ways. Even in one of the things, I think one of the first ways I met you is that when you're at the main store on Merriman, you also have that big area, you know, next to it. And when we don't have something called COVID, you're going to hopefully be having that area open again. Explain what you do in that area, which is just, I think, great.
So we have kind of two different ideas, and one is the community space aspect. And it'll be interesting to see how this returns for the hop. And we're going to take our time with it instead of trying to rush back into it. Unlike a music venue or like the Orange Peel or Gray Eagle, like Peggy and Paula are playing at, we have ice cream. So we've got other things. So we're going to ease back into the community event space side of things. But birthday parties and private events was always something that we could do too. And that was more Ashley's territory. So we'll see how that idea kind of returns back to the hop.
Because even Ashley, Greg mentioned, you know, the birthday parties. I think to myself, I've never had my birthday party there, you know, but what a perfect place or space for birthday parties. You have a bunch of them there?
Yeah, you know, pre-COVID, we were sometimes doing 2 to 4 a weekend, and it was great. You know, we had staff that was specifically for birthday parties, and we did face painting, and we'd sometimes bring in a balloon artist, and we did a build your own Sunday bar for the kids, the birthday kids, or they would do like a birthday cake.
I'm there. So, I mean, well, you laugh. I never told you the story, but when Cynthia and I got married, when Cynthia and I got married, we actually had a wedding in New York City, and then we came back for our friends, and we had an ice cream party at an ice cream parlor for all our friends. Have you ever had adult parties like that?
For sure. Yeah, we've actually had a wedding in the hop.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was the only time that we have ever allowed alcohol in the space was for the cheers, for the toast at the wedding that we had in the store.
So I'll keep that in mind for an upcoming anniversary.
Sure.
Absolutely.
How cool would that be? But also mention, Greg, one of the things they did pre-COVID, and my hope is you'll be back as well, is you also use the space to have community people perform in and talk a little bit about some of those shows you've had there.
Yeah, it was, we had a Tuesday night time slot that we would book around, because at Urban Burrito upstairs was Kids Eat Free night.
Oh, right.
And so we tied our community events, the performances, into that, so that there was kind of already a built-in audience. People would go upstairs for Kids Eat Free night, and then they'd come down and get ice cream, and then there'd be a performance happening. But we've had all different kinds of shows, from magicians to puppeteers to like music that's specifically geared towards children, to shows that are more for adults. And you know, Peggy and Paula, I'm sure, would be a welcome addition to our lineup at any point. And I'm sure that people would love it. And some of the shows that you think might not be associated with an ice cream store, or that are like a stretch, are some of the best shows that we've had. including a solo cello performance by Franklin
Oh, the
Keel.
best. Yeah. Wow.
And he, like, kids stopped in their tracks when they heard him and saw him perform, and like ice cream melting down their hands, and they're just like in awe of the sound that's coming from his machine, his instrument.
I'm getting chilled because I didn't know Franklin at the time, but I would have loved to have seen that performance.
It was pretty
Yeah.
special.
He is the best. And then I know I went to, you had a poetry reading, you know, and I went to the poetry reading, and I always remember because I got to even read a poem, you know, so it was kind of cool. When you have with upstairs with the burrito place, do a lot of people do that, go upstairs and come down for the ice cream?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. All different times of day, lunchtime, afternoon, dinner time. It's a great partnership, and not just serving burrito, but the shopping center has a lot of life in it in general, and it's kind of like a one-stop shop for families and people in North Asheville or wherever, college students. Yeah,
Well,
it's a good
you mentioned kind of, I think the key too is that the nice thing about ice cream is that anytime it's for ice cream, you know, so it doesn't have to be at night after dinner. And one of the things I so much appreciate that you've done during COVID is that you've stayed open, and describe what you've done there, because I've really enjoyed it, that even though the inside is not open, people could still get their fix of ice cream. And personally, I love ice cream in the winter. You know, it's a great time to have it. So how do you do that? Made it available to people?
We tried to be very thoughtful when we were bringing staff back, and we wanted the staff to know that, you know, we put their health and safety first. And the more we thought about it, the more it just made sense for us to keep people outside the door. And so, you know, we set up plexiglass barriers and created new menus for the windows and things like that. We were able to kind of shift our service at the 3 retail stores to accommodate people doing a walk-up window style service.
Because I thought it was great and very well done, and you felt very, very comfortable with it. But again, the key to it is that people can still get their ice cream, you know, because I don't know about you, but some people say, why ice cream in the winter? Why not? You know, it's just the best time to have, or there's no bad time to have ice cream. Is that correct?
That is, and you are the reason why we stay open.
Well, how do you get
Thank you, Blaine, for keeping us going.
Well, Greg, let me ask you guys. So you were college students, but did you always know as a little kid you wanted to run an ice cream store?
No, it never occurred to us. I don't think any kind of food service. So
When did you decide you wanted to make this your life's mission?
well, we got the job in college, and I loved it because it was happy and it was interacting with the public, and the ice cream was really good. And, you know, I was able to also work other jobs or do internships while I was working at the Hop because the schedule was flexible. And once I graduated and my other jobs kind of petered out, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in Asheville, and Greg was coaching at UNCA. So we knew we were staying in Asheville. And we just kind of threw out the idea, maybe we'll buy the Hop, because the previous owners were looking to sell it. So it took us a while to get a loan to buy the business because it was in 2008 when nobody was lending to anybody. But it worked out, and here we are many years later.
and talk about where you are now too, because the Hop then, and it's kind of neat to watch. So it started out as, it was the one store originally, the Merriman store.
Yes.
And that's before my time, but it used to be right down the street or something. And then you coalesced. Were you the ones who opened the current location?
The previous owners moved it in 2007.
Okay, 2007. And so that was the one store, but then you didn't just stop with the one store then. So eventually you grew a little bit.
Yeah,
describe that process.
I happened to be on Craigslist, I think, and I saw that there was an existing ice cream shop in West Asheville that was looking for somebody to lease the space in the wintertime because they would close when it got cold. And I was just like, let's go talk to them and see, like, maybe they would be interested in selling our ice cream, or maybe we can take over the space in the wintertime. I don't know how that would work, but we started talking to them. They're like, why don't you just buy it from us? And, you know, then you can have a West Asheville spot. And it was a very short turnaround time. I want to say like less than a month from the time we contacted them to the time that we signed the lease and we're painting the walls. And that was in 2010. And then we realized quickly that we were running out of space for production out of our Merriman location. We were in a 10 by 10 room where we made all the ice cream and it was tight. So we started looking for a production space. And again, scrolling Facebook, I saw that there was a building right up the street from us on Haywood that was for lease. And we called him, and was it the next day?
It was that day, that afternoon, we had committed to the lease.
Yeah, and we had to do a full build out. We jump into things when we know they're good ideas. We have a pretty good track record with, like, when we see something, we know it's right. So the creamery came about. We opened in 2015 for that as our full production space. And we had a tasting room there where we would do flights of ice cream and things like that on Friday nights.
Birthday parties. It was a second location, an overflow location, and then a more private location for birthday parties and special events.
Because you're giving me an idea as you're talking about, you see my mind going here. What a great place for a party, to do something a little bit different. And I really like the idea. Now, how do you guys learn how to make ice cream?
Just working for the previous owners. I worked for them for 5 years. So pretty quickly after I started working, they had me making ice cream.
Yeah. And
I think
what about
Ashley's always had Ashley's always had a very chemistry minded brain and understands how, like, baking works from a chemistry standpoint. And I think ice cream translates pretty well, if I can speak for your brain and how it works. That she just understands, like, the process of adding flavors and adding things to create a frozen product. The flavor combinations, everything, I think she's predisposed for that already. And, in addition to the joy making idea, I think that the challenge and the creative outlet of actually producing ice cream worked out well.
Well, talk a little bit about that process too, because I could be wrong, but were you the first ones, at least in the Asheville area, to bring vegan ice cream, or one of the first ones to bring that into the area?
I think the hop was. The previous owner started making it, I want to say maybe in 2000. They partnered with a local company who was making vegan candy bars, and he helped them develop their vegan ice cream recipe. And so when I started, they were selling soy ice cream and some rice milk ice cream. And then we expanded it to have almond milk ice cream. And then when we had the production space, we had so much more freedom to experiment. And now we have 10 to 20 different bases that we can make in the vegan ice creams.
And talk about that for the benefit of the people, including me, who don't know what vegan ice cream is. What is it?
It doesn't contain any animal products. And so
Wait, I lost your sound a little bit, Ashley.
So the vegan ice cream
There you go.
doesn't contain any animal products. So there's no milk in it. It's either nut or seed or fruit based. And we blend different ingredients to make a pretty creamy, base that we can do a lot of the same flavors that we make in the dairy ice cream and the vegan options as well.
Now, that'd be an interesting taste test, and I'm not volunteering for it. But to see, can some people not tell the difference between the two?
I think that we have folks that are not vegan who will get the vegan ice cream, that they prefer the flavor.
Or to try the flavors. You have so many.
Strawberry ice cream is, for instance, like one of the best vegan ice creams because you're not diluting the flavor of the strawberry with cow's milk and what cow's milk brings to the table. So when you make a vegan ice cream, a vegan strawberry ice cream, the strawberries actually shine through so much better that it's not even, in my opinion, it's not even close. Like, the vegan strawberry ice cream is a stronger, better vegan flavor than the dairy version.
Do you ever offer both at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because one of the things I'm also very impressed with you folks is the fact that you not only sell your products, but you also bring in stuff from other local areas. In other words, when you make your ice cream, talk about that process, Ashley, where you get your stuff from.
We love collaborating with other producers in town, whether it's the actual farmers who are growing the produce that we use, or if it's another restaurant or somebody who makes, a product like popcorn or different inclusions that we could put in the ice cream. So with the farmers, it just made sense for us to start sourcing ingredients locally. And, we have a couple farmers who will talk to us over the winter about what our needs are, and they'll plant their fields according to what we're going to purchase from them, with strawberries and blueberries, all the berries. And we partnered with Lee's One Fortune Farm to do a lot of his products. And he grows rice, which is amazing. I didn't even know they could grow rice in Western North Carolina, but he carries this amazing, super high grade sushi rice and a couple other varieties. And so we've used that to make our rice milk ice cream. And he's also got a lot of really interesting fruits that we're going to hopefully showcase this summer and fall.
Where did you get, in terms of your ideas for the flavors, where do you get them from?
Everywhere. I typically read a menu from the back to the front, because I'll start with the dessert and then go back and pick my meal. So I'm always interested in what food producers or what flavors they're combining. And, I talk to people about ice cream all the time. So people will be like, I was thinking about this one flavor, or, they'll say that they had eaten something like a salty tortilla chip with like a strawberry on it, or, combinations that you don't normally think of that, like, it really worked. And so then my brain starts turning like, could I do that in ice cream? So I try not to limit myself too much. Like, I try to stay away from shellfish or the other kind of meats.
I haven't seen cheeseburger ice cream yet at your place.
No, we have done a turkey sandwich ice cream.
Have you really? Oh,
It didn't work.
It was a collaboration with 12 Bones. That was just a total curveball. Like,
Yeah.
let's just try it.
We
Let's
love our
just see.
12 Bone friends. That one was out there for sure.
So I can sort of talk a little bit also, because this is a really interesting question, and it's one that has evolved over time. Right now, we have an online store that's a consequence of COVID that we didn't have before, with curbside pickup for all orders placed in the online store that are at the Creamery, our production facility, across from Whole Donuts. And we have these different series of ice cream, like Ashley's Scoop series, where she makes small batch special flavors that are only available in the online store. And we have a series called the Asheville Strong series, which was our nod to the nonprofit now, Asheville Strong, and the work that they've done for small businesses and beyond now in Asheville as a result of COVID. And in the Asheville Strong series, it is forcing us to reach out to other businesses and to start conversations about what we can do. And it's sometimes we don't even know what is going to be the end result of those collaborations. We just know that we want to work with this person, like Ashley Shanti, who was the chef de cuisine at Benny on Eagle. And we just knew that we wanted to work with her because of all the amazing food that we had eaten there. And so we just emailed Ashley Shanti and said, hey, we'd love to work together on ice cream. Had no idea where it was going to go. And so then you get people like Ashley Shanti and Ashley in the room together, and it's like just fireworks. and
It's so much fun.
It really is amazing just to watch it. Like, I usually don't participate except on the marketing side. So I'm just listening to their ideas and how it will actually come together. It's really fun.
what's the most unusual flavor you ever had, or one of them?
We made a caramelized onion ice cream for someone who was pregnant at the bank that we go to. And she loved it. She absolutely loved it.
But you're not going to put it on the regular menu, though.
No onions.
We do a garlic caramel ice cream for the garlic festival every year, and we sell out every year. It amazes me. I mean, it's very garlicky, and it does have like a sweet caramel swirl. But it's the most well-received out there flavor that we've made.
Because I'll give you a compliment. Just the other day, I had the caramel apple and I liked, but I don't know if I'd like it with the onion. I think I take a pass on that.
Yeah.
What's the percentage in terms of when people come in, split between quote the regular ice cream and then the vegan ice cream?
I'd say maybe 30%.
Yeah, it's higher than
It's
you would
usually-
expect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about a third of people. It moves up sometimes, just depending on the time of year and the folks coming through. I think that there will be a trend as we go on in time for people switching more to vegan products and moving away from dairy, just because of like the way the dairy industry has been run for the last 50 years. I feel like it's kind of petering out in a way. I mean, there will always be diehard dairy enthusiasts. And, you know, we don't plan on getting rid of dairy ice cream anytime soon, but we are always working on our vegan ice cream and expanding our offerings there.
We have a lot more control of it because of the industry, the dairy industry, and you know, the idea of bacteria and things and pasteurizing the equipment that's required to make that happen. And the regulations on the dairy industry remove some of the freedom that we have as a producer, whereas the vegan side, we have total freedom because you don't have to worry about the same things with like sunflower seeds that you do with cow's milk, which is really, it's nice as a business to have complete control of the end result.
Because one of the things I also love about you folks and have always admired about you is the fact that you are so in the community. Because another thing I noticed that you name it, you're going to be there oftentimes. You know, when I used to live in Biltmore Lake, you'd be there scooping ice cream. You'd go to Pack Square, any of the events at Pack Square, the Jewish festival, you name it, you're going to be out scooping there. And so that certainly, you know, I guess gets your word out that the hop is a member of the community, you know. And,
It's fun, yeah.
You probably like that.
It was great for a lot of different reasons, especially at a certain time when we were still trying to establish ourselves or reestablish the hop. It's kind of up in the air a little bit about whether or not that's going to be a consistent thing with the business now. We have some other things in the works. You know, COVID has changed the dynamic of a lot of different aspects of our business. We have this online store that makes ice cream flights like kind of not pointless, but a lot harder to focus on because we can have this online store with all these options and it's so smooth. And so it will be interesting I'm starting to have some of those conversations with some of the event promoters about like, how are we going to reintroduce the hop, if at all, into some of these scenarios. So there's a lot to be determined on that. It was great, but I'm not sure to the extent that we will return on that level from an event standpoint, but it's too early to say.
Moving forward, Greg and Ashley, let's just talk, and we have another minute or so here. What else you have coming up? I know one thing we were talking about off the air is that in addition to being an ice cream entrepreneur, the two of you, you're also a break dancer. You know, and let's talk about your breakdancing expertise.
Sure. That was my COVID pastime. I've always wanted to do it, and when we had to close the hop for a couple weeks or however long, it was like for whatever reason, it just clicked, and I just started practicing. And so that has now transformed into this whole kind of arm of the business, which is called Breaking in a Book, which is it's every Friday at 2:30, we reach out to local literacy-oriented nonprofits and promote everything that they have going on through breakdancing tutorials and story time with me and my kids oftentimes. And it's really taken a life of its own. And, you know, I'm talking about kind of what the next phase is for that, and possibly like busking downtown and like sitting down with whoever is there and reading a book to them and taking any of the proceeds and giving them to the literacy organizations.
Love it. Greg and Ashley, if folks want to find out more about the hop in terms of what you're doing currently, menus, all that good stuff, best bet to find out information is what?
Social media. We're very active on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Ashley just posted a TikTok today of making an ice cream cake. So yeah, social media, it's pretty easy to find us on there. I run all the social media myself, so it's nice to know that sometimes you're talking to the owner or who you're talking to.
Okay, and just look up the hop and you'll find you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's all on our it's on our website also. The
Okay,
Hop Ice Cream.
I'd like to thank you both for being my guests the second half hour on the BLAINESWORLD show. Also to Peggy Ratusz and Paula Hanke and my producer, Amy Pierce. We hope to see you all next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Blaine. Thank you.